Thank you. So Wayne just gave you an overview of the transportation behavior, and now what I want to do is explain how existing infrastructure supports that behavior. So first we're going to look at parking. We know that a significant number of people, almost half the people who commute to Liberty Village, drive. So that's about 4,000 cars that have to park in this area every day. So what we did was we mapped out parking prices for Liberty Village and then compared them to other areas in the downtown core. Off the map, we actually found that downtown rates are usually about $20 or more per day. In contrast, Liberty Village has many public lots and private lots that are under about $10 a day is an average. So there's a significant mismatch between the large demand and the very low pricing, which seems to perpetuate that behavior. Next, we looked at alternatives to driving, because we wanted to see why people aren't using public transit in this case. So this map shows the different routes. There are about 8 different bus and streetcar networks that connect to our site, which is pretty amazing. There's also a GO station at Exhibition, just to the south edge of our site, and you walk under a tunnel to connect to the study area. So we looked at transitscore.com. It's a rating from basically walkscore.com, and they rate this study area as a transit paradise. Now that may be surprising. The problem is there's a mismatch between the supply of transportation options and the demand for those options. So what we wanted to do next is understand the current utilization of transit to assess that supply and demand mismatch. So I'm just going to walk you through this slide because it's a little complicated, but essentially the morning trips in the east and westbound directions are shown on the top, and the afternoon trips are shown on the bottom. So the focus of our study is transportation to Liberty Village, so employees who work there. So in the morning, you can see the exits from the streetcar. This is the 504 streetcar. A lot of people arrive from downtown and get off at the corner. And similarly, in the evening, a lot of people get on this streetcar and head back towards downtown. Now just to contrast, we're not talking about everybody talks about this problem, people getting on the streetcar and it's crowded and trying to get downtown. Now, just to put this in context, we also mapped the cumulative ridership over the whole route. And we actually found there was a significant number of people on the streetcar in both directions by the time it arrived at our study area. So what this tells us is there's actual evidence to support the anecdotes that the route is crowded and relief is needed. We also mapped this for 3 other routes, including the GO station, but we didn't want to show that here. Next, to understand how cycling demand lines up with current supply of infrastructure, we looked at the existing cycling routes within the city, ranging from major multi-use or protected pathways down to signed routes or suggested on-street connections. Now there's not a lot to look at here, even though the colors are washed out, I apologize. There is one suggested connection along Springhurst that connects to the study area. Aside from that, there is no cycling infrastructure that connects to our study area. So what we wanted to do is understand how demand for cycling infrastructure is currently, or what demand currently exists. So what we did was we got data from the City of Toronto's cycling app, which tracked GPS routes over the course of a 5-month period in 2014. And this shows the cumulative number of cycling trips on each street segment. So you can see there's a significant amount of people traveling east-west along Richmond Adelaide, for example. And there's also a large demand that's traveling through this area, although there are no cycle tracks here. So that suggests and maybe guides future development of cycling networks. Next, and finally, we wanted to evaluate the current infrastructure that supports walking. So what we did was we reviewed a series of different walkability rating frameworks, and we picked one created by the Centers for Disease Control in the United States. This was selected because it provides an objective criteria that can be easily scored and mapped, and it was also designed for employment districts. And these are the different ratings that we used. Won't go into the details, but we scored 48 different street segments in pairs, so we had 2 independent evaluations, scored all the ratings, and we presented the results on this map. So green areas are relatively high and red areas are relatively poor quality walking environments. So you can see there's a concentration of low quality pedestrian realm, especially in this industrial area, that has literally not changed at all in 40 or 50 years. So there's on-street parking, there's lots of conflicts between cars and pedestrians. Similarly, this one Liberty Street is relatively good, except you should note that this score is still only about 76. So there's a lot of room for improvement, even on those best case scenarios. So this concludes our summary of the supply and demand of current infrastructure. Next, we'll talk about future.